everyone, and welcome back to Lynx's channel. We're sitting here again with Mike, and we wanted to have a dialogue today about the payment industry. But first off, Mike, how are you doing?
Or doing well. I'm doing well. Thank you very much.
Good, glad to have you back. So let's just kind of jump in here. So the payment world has been really on fire lately, and you're seeing tech IPOs related to payments doing very well, which is an interesting time for that because, as you had said off camera, the tech industry as a whole has been kind of softening up a little bit. So tell me, Mike, what's going on here?
Well, I think payments kind of represent one is there's a technology is just a fundamental element of that, and payments themselves are going through a digitization. The need to start plugging in at every level to have payments be seamless, to service providers that can enable any business, and certainly COVID drove, really kind of shone a light on that. The fact that people couldn't do business the way they needed to. We had to instantly start, move ourselves to an online presence, and then we had to accept payments in the time that it took. So I think payments as a whole is something that is technology is grabbing and running for it, but at the same time, it's also something that's part of the global economy, and it's part of how the global economy grows. And we're recognizing that the more that we're able to digitize, and the more that we're able to connect, the more people that we are allowed to be part of the economy, that are allowed to participate, and then we're seeing that expand. So I think payments are playing a very big role in it. Payments are as a business, payments are quite exciting because they have a tendency to the revenue tends to grow quite well as you add more customers on. There's a certain stickiness to it. Once somebody has a payment partner that they like, they don't tend to change that much. There's lots of verticals that people can work and participate in, and it's huge. I think a Credit Suisse report from last year kind of put the total value of global payments is $235 trillion. So if you look at the size of that, the number of businesses and sectors and niches that you can create that still are very large businesses are quite exciting.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, if you want to be involved with every single type of business in the world, payments is the way to go because every business has to have payments.
That's right. I mean, it's the oil that kind of lubricates everything. You have to do the transaction, and the more and more that you as a business, if we see a world of kind of democratized economy where anybody in the world can set up a business and sell to any other person, and that's kind of how we see it. Like until the world is the point, it doesn't matter where you are in the world. I set up a business, I sell my product to somebody, and I have to take payment for it, and I want to take any kind of payment. Once that happens, the growth in the GDP is extraordinary. So there's been, as you mentioned at the beginning, there's been a lot of activity lately. You've had several. You had a SPAC for Payoneer that was recently that happened. You had the IPO of Flywire just a few weeks ago. Flywire had started off in the travel business and kind of has expanded up to that. They've done very well in their verticals over the years. That's been a very successful one. And then, of course, last week we had the one dLocal, which is interesting to us because dLocal is a payments company that focuses on emerging markets. They're Latin America based. They had a very successful IPO, raised $650 million. And that was after they had already raised like hundreds of millions of dollars from the venture capital community. So, and that is just because of the strength of the market that they're in and just the size of the opportunity for digitizing emerging markets. And where that's interesting to us is we're out in Southeast Asia, so you can almost say that dLocal, has for the past few years has been in Latin America, and they're in the West, and they're going east. We've set up our operations recently, and we're in the East, and we're going to go west.
So. Yeah, there's definitely some parallels there. And there's also parallels between the public industry with the payment systems and the cryptocurrency industry, right? Aside from just speculation, it's definitely one of the main benefits of cryptocurrencies being able to foster payments. Can you tell me some of the parallels and crossovers between?
Yeah, I think cryptocurrency for us, and I think that's something that's a little bit unique about us, is that we see cryptocurrency and digital currencies as part of the future payment ecosystem. And there are some very, very unique and specific things that cryptocurrency can do that just can't be done in the fabric of how the legacy payment system is structured. So most importantly, with blockchain of any kind, the ability to go across borders, and it's not just national borders, but that's system borders of any kind. The power of blockchain is that the integrity of the transaction exists when it goes from one system to another. And that solves a lot of problems in payments. The biggest challenge is moving money from one system into another system, and keeping the record of that transaction all the way through. So we see that, and we certainly, cross-border remittance, we're starting to see that in settlement accounts. You're starting to see that in assets and transactions. So as digital assets happen. So all of these things are very exciting. And I think the biggest thing for us is that I think over the next 3 to 5 years is going to be the tying of transactions. And we look at smart contracts, the tying of the mechanism of the transaction to the payment. So once a requirement has happened, the payment is made. We can automate that. Right now, it's a very painful process. So all of this is very exciting, and I think that we have to have a view to the world. And what's happening in cryptocurrency is something that you're going to see payments participating in. But what I do believe, and this is our personal vision, is that these two have to start interacting. I think the outside, we're going to create a separate world over here where only cryptocurrency happens, or we're going to create a separate world here where this doesn't happen, and now we have digital currencies. These things have to start interacting, and that's really what we're looking very closely to do, is to see how these interact in its own new kind of financial system.
Yeah, there's some ones that really touch on it. I know what is it? Ripple XRP has the Swift system for banks to transfer money wirelessly, and there's lots more of these projects that typically fall into, say, like the DeFi category, where they're working on decentralizing finance, making things simple. And as you and I have talked about in our previous video, they're going to have to interact, because the people who figure out how to make them interact are going to be in a much stronger position than those who stick to their guns trying to keep them separate.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, technology is that way. At the beginning, at some point in time, technology has to make things easier for the user, right? And it has to kind of have it interact. I mean, when, for those of us to remember when the iPhone came out back in 2006, what they did an extraordinary job of is they took a complicated kind of application software development world and a standards-based telecom world, and they put them as a layer in between, and they said, now these two people can interact, and they can do stuff, and you can get an app, and you can have programs. That's what's changed it. And I think, as the DeFi space is maturing, and as all these spaces are maturing, we're looking to see that, for everybody mainstream user, how do we make this easy? How is it that they don't have to worry about it? How do they participate in digital currency transactions without really participating in them?
Yeah.
That's kind of how we look at it.
Yeah, I think blockchain still has room to grow when it comes to user interfaces and ease of use, and that's something that the more traditional market can bring to the blockchain, and the blockchain can bring all the security of the blockchain ledger to it. So it seems like a good combination. And okay, all right, Mike. Well, again, thank you for coming on. Do you have any last words for people before we go?
No, I mean, absolutely. Keep on. We're very pleased and kind of happy with how things are going. I mean, from a business point of view, we've done these transactions, we're integrating, we're getting to know our companies a lot better. We have a very strong vision with what we want to do. I'm pleased right now with how we're executing it. We have a lot that we want to accomplish, and we're setting some high goals for ourselves. So we'll see how it goes.
Perfect, Mike. Well, thank you for coming on, and thank you everyone for watching. Stay tuned for more exciting interviews and updates coming soon. Mike, have a wonderful day.
All right. Thank you. Cheers. You too.